Hello and good day everyone. Welcome to my channel Fixing Knowledge. And today we are talking about machine learning top 40 interview questions with their relevant answers. Let's begin. What is the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning? Supervised learning is a type of machine learning where the model is trained on labeled data, whereas unsupervised learning involves training models on unlabeled data. Explain the bias variance trade-off in machine learning. The bias variance trade-off is a key concept in supervised learning that refers to the need to balance a model's ability to capture the underlying patterns in the data, also known as bias, while avoiding overfitting to specific data points, also known as variance. What is regularization in machine learning? Regularization is a technique used to prevent overfitting by adding a penalty to the model's complexity. Common regularization techniques includes L1, also known as lasso, and L2, also known as ridge regularization. What is cross-validation in machine learning? Cross-validation is a technique used to assess how well a model generalizes to new unseen data by splitting the dataset into multiple subsets for training and testing. What are the different kernels used in SVM? Commonly used kernels in support vector machines, also known as SVM, include linear, polynomial, radial basis function, also called as RBF, and sigmoid kernels. What are the key differences between classification and regression? Classification is a type of machine learning task that predicts the categories or classes, whereas regression predicts the continuous values. Explain the concept of feature engineering in machine learning. Feature engineering involves transforming the raw data into informative features that can improve a model's performance. This can include creating new features, encoding categorical variables, or scaling features. What is the curse of dimensionality in machine learning? The curse of dimensionality refers to the challenges that arise when working with high dimensional data, including increased computational complexity and the sparsity of data in high dimensional spaces. What is gradient descent and how does it work? Gradient descent is an optimization algorithm used to minimize loss functions in machine learning models by iteratively adjusting model parameters in the direction of the steepest descent of the gradient. What is the difference between overfitting and underfitting? Overfitting occurs when a model performs well on the training data but poorly on the test data due to capturing the noise in the training data. Whereas underfitting happens when a model is too simple to capture the underlying patterns in the data. What is ensemble learning and why or where is it used? Ensemble learning involves combining multiple individual models to improve the predictive performance. It is used to reduce the variance, bias, and overfitting in machine learning models. What is the purpose of a validation set in machine learning? A validation set is used to tune hyperparameters and assess the generalized performance of a machine learning model during training. Explain the difference between bagging and boosting ensemble methods. Bagging, also called as bootstrap aggregating, involves training multiple models independently on different subsets of the training data and then combining their prediction. Whereas boosting iteratively trains the models to correct the errors of previous models. What is the difference between precision and recall? Precision measures the proportion of true positive predictions among all positive predictions, while recall measures the proportion of true positive predictions among all actual positive instances. What is deep learning and how does it differ from traditional machine learning? Deep learning is a subfield of machine learning that uses neural networks with multiple hidden layers to learn the complex hierarchical presentation from data. It differs from traditional machine learning in its ability to automatically learn features from the raw data. Explain the concept of backpropagation in neural networks. Backpropagation is an algorithm used to train neural networks by updating the model's weights based on the gradient of the loss function with respect to the network's parameters. What is the difference between batch gradient descent and stochastic gradient descent? In batch gradient descent, the model updates its parameters using the gradients calculated across the entire training dataset, while stochastic gradient descent recalculates the gradients and updates the parameters for each training example. What is the importance of activation functions in neural networks? Activation functions introduce non-linearity into neural networks, allowing them to learn complex patterns and relationships in the data. What is the difference between a generative model and a discriminative model? Generative models learn the joint probability distribution of the input, features, and labels, while discriminative models learn the conditional probability of the labels given the input features. What is the purpose of dropout in neural networks? Dropout is a regularization technique used in neural networks to prevent outfitting by randomly setting a fraction of the network's neurons to 0 during training. How does a convolutional neural network, also known as CNN, differ from a fully connected neural network, also known as FNN? CNNs are specialized neural networks designed for processing the grid-like data such as images using convolutional and pooling layers to extract spatial hierarchies of features, while FNNs connect every neuron in one layer to every neuron in the next layer. What is transfer learning and why is it useful in deep learning? Transfer learning is a technique where a pre-trained model on a large dataset is used as a starting point for training a new model on a related task, allowing for faster convergence and improved performance with limited data. Explain the concept of attention mechanisms in deep learning. Attention mechanisms in deep learning allows models to focus on specific parts of an input sequence when making predictions, enabling better performance in tasks such as machine translation and text summarization. What is the difference between a decision tree and a random forest? A decision tree is a single tree-based model that makes decisions based on a sequence of rules, while a random forest is an ensemble model that combines multiple decision trees to improve predictive performance and reduce overfitting. How do you handle imbalanced datasets in machine learning? Techniques for handling imbalanced datasets include using oversampling, undersampling, generating synthetic samples, and using class weights or algorithms specifically designed for imbalanced data. What is the difference between batch normalization and layer normalization in neural networks? Batch normalization normalizes activations along the batch dimension, while layer normalization normalizes activations along the feature dimension, making it suitable for recurrent neural networks and smaller batch sizes. How do you evaluate the performance of a machine learning model? Common evaluation metrics for machine learning models include accuracy, precision, recall, F1 score, ROC-AUC, and mean square error, also known as MSE, depending on the task like classification, regression, etc. What are hyperparameters in machine learning and how do you tune them? Hyperparameters are parameters that govern the training process of a machine learning model, such as learning rate, batch size, and the number of hidden units. Hyperparameter tuning involves selecting the best values for these parameters to optimize the model's performance. What is the difference between k-means clustering and hierarchical clustering? K-means clustering is a partitioning clustering algorithm that assigns data points to k clusters based on the nearest centroid, while hierarchical clustering builds a tree-like hierarchy of clusters by iteratively merging or splitting clusters based on distance. What is the importance of feature selection in machine learning? And what are some techniques for feature selection? Feature selection is crucial in machine learning to reduce model complexity, improve interpretability, and prevent overfitting. Techniques for feature selection includes filter methods, also known as correlation based, wrapping methods, iterative model based, and embedded methods using model specific elevations. What is batch normalization and why is it used in neural networks? Batch normalization is a technique used to normalize activations in neural networks by adjusting and scaling the outputs of hidden layers, which helps in faster convergence and improved model performance by reducing internal covariate shift. Explain the concept of reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning is a type of machine learning where an agent learns to make sequential decisions by interacting with an environment, receiving rewards or penalties based on its actions, and optimizing its strategy over time through trial and error. What are the main components of a neural network? A neural network comprises layers of interconnected neurons, each with weights and biases, activation functions, and an output layer that produces predictions. The main components include input layer, hidden layers, output layer, and connections, which are weights and biases between the layers. What is the use of a confusion matrix in classification task? A confusion matrix is a tabular representation of a model's predicted classes against the true classes in a classification task, providing information on true positives, true negatives, false positives, and false negatives, which help in evaluating the model's performance. What is the importance of feature scaling in machine learning? Feature scaling is essential in machine learning to ensure that all features have a similar scale or range, preventing certain features from dominating the model and improving convergence during training in algorithms sensitive to features like SVM, QnN, and gradient descent. Explain the workings of a decision tree algorithm. Decision tree algorithms recursively split the dataset based on features to create a tree-like structure of if-else conditions, making decisions at each node to predict the target variable. The split is based on information gain or Gini impurity to maximize homogeneity within nodes. How does principal component analysis, known as PCA, work, and what is its purpose? PCA is a dimensionality reduction technique that transforms the data into a low dimensional space while retaining most of its original variance. It identifies the principal components, that is linear combinations of features, that capture the maximum variance in the data. What is the difference between L1 and L2 regularization? L1 regulation, also known as lasso, adds the absolute values of the weight to the loss function, encouraging sparsity and feature selection. Whereas L2 regularization, also known as ridge, adds the square weight, preventing overfitting and reducing the magnitude of the weights. What is the role of a learning rate in deep learning optimization? The learning rate determines the step size of parameter updates during training in deep learning models. Setting an appropriate learning rate is crucial as it affects the convergence speed, stability, and final performance of the model. Can you explain the concept of bag of words in natural language processing? Bag of words is a simple technique in NLP that represents text documents as vectors by counting the frequency of each word occurrence, disregarding grammar and word order. It is used for text classification, sentiment analysis, and information retrieval tasks. Thank you for giving your time and learning with me on my channel Fixing Knowledge. Stay tuned to see more learnings coming soon, and don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. Have a nice day ahead. Bye bye.